We've covered this before, and this should be incredibly disturbing. It's the reason why there's such a closed information and propaganda about things like the war in Ukraine or about Russiagate or anything involving Trump. These media outlets are drowning in the people who used to work at the agencies that have waged these propaganda wars against the American public. And that's why no longer necessary are things like Operation Mockingbird. They don't have to do it in secret, they do it out in the open. But one of the crucial points is that they don't just control they've not only infiltrated the largest American media outlets, this part of the government that's secretive and that was never supposed to involve itself in American domestic politics. Increasingly, they also work at the most influential big tech internet platforms that, as we all know, censor continuously. Last night, we reported that Google just simply removed Jordan Peterson's interview with RFK Jr., even though RFK Jr. is a presidential candidate polling at 20%. That's how extreme this censorship regime has become. They colluded to remove the sitting president, Donald Trump. They destroyed the most popular app in the United States, Parler, at the time when people were looking for a platform that didn't censor. That's how aggressive this censorship regime has become, but increasingly it's dictated in part by the US government externally. That's what we've been reporting on for so many months now. That's what the Twitter files were. That's what that judge last week determined, that the US government, the FBI, is constantly pressuring big tech to censor for it, and that's unconstitutional. But there's another element, another layer to it, which is they've infiltrated these big tech companies, these ex-CIA agents have, exactly like they've infiltrated corporate news outlets. They're all over these censorship regimes. Remember, part of the Twitter files focused on someone named James Baker, who was the deputy general counsel of Twitter, directly involved in the pre-Elon Musk regime in almost every censorship decision. And he had come to Twitter right from the FBI, where he was general counsel of the FBI. So the FBI sent its top lawyer to go work in the part of Twitter that censored political content. Do you understand that's the FBI controlling our domestic political discourse and the limits of it? Here from Mint Press in July of 2022, a reasonably reliable independent media outlet, and this information they publish here, we've confirmed separately. They published this article entitled, "Meet the ex-CIA Agents Deciding Facebook's Content Policy." Some may ask what the big fuss is. There's a limited pool of individuals with the necessary skills and experience in these new tech and cybersecurity fields, and many of them come from government institutions. Casinos, after all, regularly hire card sharks to protect themselves, but there's little evidence that this is a poacher turned gamekeeper scenario. Facebook is currently not hiring whistleblowers. The problem is not that these individuals are incompetent. The problem is that having so many former CIA employees running the world's most important information and news platforms is only one small step removed from the agency itself deciding what you see and what you do not see online, and all with essentially no public oversight. In this sense, this arrangement constitutes the best of both worlds for Washington. They can exert significant influence over global news and information flows, but maintain some veneer of plausible deniability. The US government does not need to directly tell Facebook what policies to enact, though of course we now know that's exactly what the US government does. This is because the people in these decision-making positions are inordinately those who rose through the ranks of the national security state beforehand, meaning their outlooks match those of Washington's. And if Facebook does not play ball, quiet threats about regulation or breaking up the company's enormous monopoly, or now increasingly overt and loud threats to do so, can also achieve the desired outcome. This is the multi-pronged effort to ensure that at the exact same time that our nation's largest corporate media outlets are propagandizing the public actively through the use of hiring these US security state agencies, Facebook and Google and the largest big tech platforms are under control of the same people who ensure that dissent to those orthodoxies, to those narratives, are not permitted. Interviews are simply removed, as happened with Jordan Peterson's of RFK Jr., and entire range of views that are too questioning of, too dissenting from, too divergent of the foreign policy agenda of the United States government are simply banned, in part by pressuring big tech directly from the US government, in part by placing inside the censorship units the people who come directly from those agencies. There is a Twitter account that goes by the name Redacted. It's at NameRedacted247. And they do an outstanding job of tracking exactly this limited question. Namely, how many people have gone from the US security state directly to big tech platforms where they work on censorship regimes, just like James Baker went from being the top lawyer of the FBI to the second top highest lawyer of Twitter. It's a stream, a revolving door of people. So in this comprehensive thread from December of 2022, this person counted, and they provide ample documentation that you can go check and that we have checked. That makes it a very reliable source of information. And this first tweet says, quote, Google currently employs at least 165 people in high-ranking positions from the intelligence community. Google's trust and safety team, which is their censorship unit, is managed by 3 ex-CIA agents who control, quote, both misinformation and hate speech. Here's the breakdown. The CIA has 27 people at big tech, FBI has 52, NSA has 30, Homeland Security has 50, and the Office of Director of National Intelligence, ODNI, has 6. Here is, that's just Google. That's just Google's trust and safety. Here's the next tweet. After learning that Twitter employs at least 15 former FBI agents, I searched Facebook. What I found is alarming. Facebook currently employs at least 115 people in high-ranking positions that formerly worked at CIA, FBI, NSA, DHS. And there you see the breakdown, 17, 37, 23, and 38. Not surprising, senior managers of trust and safety at Google YouTube also include former CIA officers. One of them, Nick Rossman, expressed radical viewpoints on Twitter, referring to anti-vaxxers as, quote, Nazis and Confederates. Do you think these people are objective arbiters of misinformation, or do you think they're using their censorship power inside big tech for this in the same way that people inside corporate media are using it to advance the propagandistic aims of these agencies against their own citizens? Thanks for watching this clip from System Update. Catch our full shows for free, live weekdays at 7 p.m. Eastern on Rumble, and join our locals community at greenwald.locals.com for all of my written journalism, exclusive after-show Q&As, and more.